Okay. It is now time to start the meeting, so let's begin. Let's call it order and begin with the pledge and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Almighty God, as we gather, we ask that you would bless our nation, that you would bless the people of our nation, and that you would also bless us as we come together today to represent the people of Pendleton County. We ask you to bless our decisions and our discussions so that the students, staff, and all the parents and guardians would benefit. Amen. And no public comment, but that brings us down to student and staff recognition.
Okay, so for staff recognition, I wanted to recognize JP because he's been contacted by Howard O'Call to work with the state board on finances, and he will be presenting when we go on the 15th.
Oh.
So, is that correct? And
yeah, I thought it would be a surprise, but I guess not.
surprise to you. It just shows just his depth of knowledge, and it's just a great thing that we have him here with us. So we appreciate him. So, and as far as student recognition, we have two. Senior Brina Bowers of Franklin is Pendleton County High School September Academic Student of the Month. She is the daughter of Renee Hinkle and Justin Bowers. Brina is a member of the National Honor Society and volleyball team. She is on the homecoming and prom committee and is vice president of the class of 2026. Brina has been recognized for her high SAT scores and being on the A honor roll. She has received an academic letter and has read to Franklin Elementary students. She has worked at the corner shop and Franklin Florist. She plans to go to college to pursue a career to help others in a positive way. And the Pendleton County High School James Huffman Responsible Student of the Month for September is senior Vivian Pinau of Franklin. Vivian is the daughter of Rick Pinau and Carrie Ruddle. She is a member of Educators Rising, National Honor Society, Choir, FFA, 4-H, and West Virginia Theater East. And I must say, it is a joy to be able to say choir. I am glad that that's back in our curriculum. Vivian was an Educator Rising state champion and national semifinalist, author, and illustrator of the K-3 literature contest. Vivian was a member of the West Virginia 4-H state champion horticulture and poultry judging teams and was a 4-H club Congress delegate. She volunteers for Energy Express. Vivian plans to attend Eastern, CTC, and Concord to finish the Grow Your Own program and become a kindergarten teacher, as well as continue to write and illustrate children's books and make art.
Congratulations to both of them.
Yes, it's awesome.
Anybody have any questions or comments on those?
I'm just glad I have jump-started her because I had her when she first came into elementary.
Makes you proud.
Yeah.
We have all received the minutes of the September 2nd board meeting. Are there any corrections or objections to those minutes, or do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the minutes. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the September 2nd, 2025 board meeting and executive session minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. That brings us to personnel. Nothing to resignations.
Yeah.
Employment.
Yes, we have two. We have Kathy Kyle as substitute cook and Nathaniel Warner as substitute custodian.
And you have my recommendation to approve the employment of these as presented.
We have our recommendation to approve as presented the personnel. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the employment of Kathy Kyle and Nathaniel Warner, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. And then nothing under contracts. Non-paid coaches.
We have one, Matt Kyle.
And I recommend that we approve Matt Kyle as a non-paid coach for golf.
We have our superintendent's recommendation to approve Matt Kyle as a non-paid coach for golf. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
That was for golf or football?
Golf.
Golf, okay, thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Then all in favor of approving the Matt Kyle as a non-page coach, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Volunteers and chaperones. I guess you probably don't want to necessarily read all of those.
Nah.
I don't think we need for you to read all of those. It would take a while to get through them. But we have them, if anybody wants to look at them.
Okay, you have my recommendation to approve the volunteers and chaperones as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the volunteers and chaperones as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Why don't we just talk about it now
Okay.
and do it as a part of? We can
Okay.
always come back and amend it.
Okay.
So do you want to go ahead and talk about that a little bit?
So just wanted to point out that there are three under Pinal County Middle High School drivers. So just wanted to point that out, that that's a little bit different. So it's chaperones, volunteers, and a part of the volunteer chaperone is also the driving portion that we want to approve separately.
Start at the bottom. Any questions about that? Then all in favor of approving about almost 3 pages of, and 3 columns per page, volunteers and chaperones, including the drivers, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes, and nothing under leaves of absence. So that finishes us up under personnel, and we can move down to finance.
Okay, we have FY 2025 year-end financials, and I'll be adding some detailed schedules to these and giving you some additional information as we go through the next meeting or two. But the bottom line is the June 30, 2025 financial statements under 6A. And I'm going to focus on Fund 11 because that's our main general current expense fund. On the left-hand side, that's our main state and local funding that's not restricted or anything, and that's where all of the activity takes place outside of some special grants. Total revenue $16,253,069. We have expenditures broken out by instruction and instructional support for students like therapists and some aides and some additional services, and then on down through. Operation and maintenance of facilities over 1.6 million, student transportation over 1.8 million. So outside of instruction, those are certainly very large areas, and we have a large county, and those expenses continue to increase as well. Principal retirement, moving down the page. I'll go back up to capital outlay, $90,400. That was the bus garage paving that was completed during last year. We will have some that goes on FY 26 when that's done. It was just completed a few weeks ago at the bus garage. Some of the principal retirement and interest that we had for some of the lease purchases for buses, those totals there. So we had total expenditures just over 15.6 million going down the page, and that was in excess of 569,000. But we have to factor in transfers in and out, including transfers for grants, including transfers for child nutrition from Fund 11 into Fund 61, which is one of the larger ones. So the bottom line is, and I've got it kind of circled there, or in a rectangle, so to speak, our fund balance increased in Fund 11, $172,488. Began the year with a 1.634865, a 1.6 million fund balance. Ended the year at 1,807,353, and we talked about trying to have a 1.7, 1.8, somewhere between 1.5 and 2 throughout the year. So we ended up as a target. This year in 26, I certainly want to make sure that we can maintain, or if we do, reduce, it's very slight. And so, as still very early yet, far too early to make any year-end projections. As it stands now, everything seems very solid to certainly be in that ballpark again. Do I anticipate an increase? I mean, I don't. At the same time, forest land funds are still uncertain. We're still on hold for those. Hopefully that gets redone. Not 100% sure about federal funding. But at the same time, we're holding our own and actually increased a little bit. So even if we saw a very slight reduction, if we did see that, I think we're still very solid. Now, one thing I will say now, that Pocahontas County preliminarily is down about 50 students. Now, I've run some preliminary numbers. It's not second month enrollment yet, but that could be problematic for us in the 1400 floor, as our ratio, students per square mile, is tied to Pocahontas counties. And so when they become more sparse at a greater rate than we do, we've stayed at the 1400 flat funding for 5 or 6 years now, and that could be a problem for us. Not something that's going to be overwhelming at the moment, but if it would stay as it is right now, and we would stay as we are right now, we could see a loss of 100,000 plus in the state. So it's not the 4 million that we get, but again, if you factor in forest land, general other funding concerns and that, then yeah, we have to pay attention to those items. So that's just where we stand at the moment. I'll come back at a future meeting with more detail on that, but that's preliminarily. So maybe that won't be the exact count, but I did check with the Pocahontas County School Board office about a week ago, and that's what they were seeing at the time. And I don't really know, if it's people moving out or homeschool or just less population. And bottom line is, we're holding steady around 850 and have for several years, up and down a little. They used to have about 100 students more than us, then they started getting 70 and 80 more, and then 60 more, and then now they may actually be smaller than us in terms of enrollment, which would be the first time ever, or at least in 50 or 60 years anyhow, as far as that goes. So we'll have to maintain a look at that, talk to legislators again if there's any proposed changes to the funding formula about maintaining the 1400 floor. Best case is we maintain it and tweak it to take away negative effects of too small of a drop by Pocahontas. But certainly absent that, just maintaining the formula, it's still a very valuable, obviously, part of the formula to us. And so we just have to be aware of that. Everything else on that page, the second column is special revenue, means the special grants that we get. Some of that includes child nutrition programs, some of that includes Title I, special education, and it's always like in a negative fund balance because we have to wait for monies to come in and draw them down when we have some of those items that come through. So we have some receivables that come through up there. And special revenue fund is now zeroed out. The next important one, the fifth column over to the right, certainly has some items of 300,000 permanent improvement fund. Been setting aside 50,000 a year permanent improvement fund. Now, if you're trying to build a new school, that's not a whole lot of money. If you're trying to have a little bit built up for a match, if you're trying to take care of some HVAC and don't have grant money to do it, it can still be substantial. And obviously, that's 300,000. It doesn't have to come out of the general fund, Fund 11 on the left-hand side. So we haven't obligated to spend anything out of that. We've built it up over 6 years, 50,000 a year, pretty much since 2020. First year we had a little bit of savings coming in to do that. And so Travis continues to update on facilities, and we've applied for a needs grant. We have some other issues. So in one hand, it's very good to have 300,000 setting aside, but it won't go very far, if we really want to replace the whole system. It can help us do some things. So the good news is, up until 6 years ago, we've never had a permanent improvement fund. So now we do have a pretty reasonable fund balance and 300,000 in a permanent improvement fund. The second page of the handout gets into revenues, gets into the balance sheet. So that was revenues and expenses. The balance sheet shows our cash at fiscal year end, just over 2.7 million. If I subtract the middle column of 315,000, the schools go on the books reporting their balances, but it doesn't show up in our discussion. So if you subtract out 315, we're back to the 2.4 million cash figure, which ties back to our June 30 Treasurer's report of several meetings ago. And so that's where our cash balance comes in. Taxes receivable from the sheriff, about 104,000. Speaking of taxes receivable, we did receive pretty healthy distribution in August. which we'll talk about, treasurer's report, and then about 1.2 million in September, a couple days ago. So that, again, increases our cash flow to a pretty large fund balance, and then we go throughout the year. Those are all expected. So balance sheet shows our status. We had some receivables at year end from PEIA and state. It shows our basic cash, again, in positions. It shows the summertime checks of liabilities that we had in PEIA. And then the good news is it all ties back at the bottom to our first page, a total fund balance, left-hand column, 1.8 million, 1.807353. It goes into schools, fund balances, and it goes into 300,000 for a permanent improvement fund as to what that goes through. So trying to take a look here. So then that's the main financial statements. I will have some supporting schedules that go with it, but those are the important numbers for us, with the 1.8 million fund balance being the most significant calculation that we work through. The next are some pages along with those two that go into the newspaper. Now that doesn't have to go in until the end of October, so we'll take a few weeks and get some supplemental schedules together, but these will go in before the end of October. They'll be submitted to the state by the end of September to meet requirements, and then they will go into the newspaper. So we have to list board members individually and the salaries. Now, some of you were paid at the old rate last fiscal year, and some of you were paid at the higher rate. Now you're all paid at the higher rate, but it's kind of a different thing. So some of you, I guess people will think you didn't come to meetings. I'm not sure what that means. But at any rate, you have some at lesser rates.
There'll be questions asked about that.
You have some at the higher rates. Anyway, not in the paper yet. And so superintendent, we don't list by name, it just lists salary. All other professional personnel, service personnel, then total salary was almost 9.7 million, 9,698,429, which matches our payroll records for the fiscal year. Then we're required by law to still publish all vendors paid $250 or more. That's been tried to raise it a couple times over the years, like to 500, but nonetheless, it's still $250. And that ties back to our total expenditures, it's 18.6, all the funds together. So then we have this summary page, and then we list all these vendors. I will come back at a future meeting, kind of do some comparisons to prior years, individual vendors, but pretty much alphabetical. Sometimes the names change and the vendor numbers stay the same. One of our large ones here on page 1, Mon Power, electricity, 371,954. It's probably an all-time high because electric rates seem to go up all the time, so I'm not sure that it is. And usage varies some, but usage is pretty steady, and there are some things we can do, I think, to tweak usage, but rates obviously continue to go up over time. So these are in there. Some janitor supply companies, Brown's Paving and Construction, 90,400. Again, was the bus garage being paved. We bought a lot of Chromebooks, CDW Government on page 254,000. Chalmers Ford of 65,000 is the transit van that we have out at the high school. Employees that have reimbursement for travel show up as vendors that are on here as well. Dinsmore and Scholl Legal, 54,000 for legal for the year. Epic, we pay for Medicaid billing and then some other services through Epic, so 18,000. General membership fees, 18,711. Individual transactions, Hardytel for internet and phone service, 18,224. Contract bus drivers, they show up as a vendor, so they would show up individually named. Again, these are 250 and above. Highway motors, that's pretty painful, even though we get reimbursed 95%, 118,204 for bus repair. And even since then, we've had an engine, and it seems like another engine is now on the way out that we debated. Again, it's another large fee, but we get reimbursed 95%, and so it costs us very little. Now, it's an older bus, and so you're weighing buying versus repairing, but in the end, you pay very little, even though it's a lot to have to work through that. Employer matching for FICA, the Kilmer's Farm Market, child nutrition, some purchase services that we have for things like speech, physical therapy, various utilities. PCB, Pendleton Bank, is some of our interest and principal payments that we have for some of those loans that we have out. Faculty Senate funds and other funds that go out to the high school. Again, various ones that we have. Savas, under the S's, is textbook purchases and software, over $100,000 for textbooks. Again, Southern States Moorfield is diesel and propane, over $200,000. Southern States Moorfield still gives us, I've checked around with other counties, still gives us very competitive rates. We will probably go out to bid for that service here again soon. It's been several years for diesel and propane. Board of Risk and Insurance Management is far more than it ever was, $154,000. It used to be maybe $60,000 or $80,000 a year, but that liability rate has gone up a lot statewide in the last 3 to 4 years. Experience Learning, the money that comes to us and then gets transferred out for STEM. There was a software package transfer incorporated. That was some work that Carrie was doing, a special ed grant towards year end. Some credit card purchases. A lot of that is Gordon Foods. Over $300,000 to $400,000 of the credit card payment is to Gordon Foods for child nutrition. And again, various items that we have there. School Board Association included, retirement payments, PEIA, and portion of liability. That's 8751, 877 of 250. Again, which ties back up to our summary sheet of 871, 8751, 877. So if you add the payroll of 9.6, almost 9.7 million, add your total non-salary of 8,971,000. 18,673.85, which does tie back to our financial statements. Total expenditures 18,673.85. I will have some detailed schedules, supporting schedules on items like fixed assets and depreciation at a future meeting, and some notes about retirement expenditures. But those are the financial statements. We are in a reasonably healthy financial position as we stand right now in terms of our fund balance. We do have some items to be concerned about, pay attention to, and we will continue to do that. So any questions for me on financial statements or anything else?
Does it hurt us on like special needs grants and facilities and everything, having a healthy bottom line? Does that help you when you apply for those?
It used to be, the state still, when we apply, the state still asks, the state has all this data. They know what your fund balance is. For years, we had 100,000 was a pretty decent year, and so they didn't expect much from us. We had this discussion, a couple weeks ago. It's like, well, how much do we think we can commit to it? And I'm asking for $2 million. We offered up a couple 100,000. Now they can negotiate with us. They could call back and say, we want you to add in more or not. And so I don't know that it really hurts. Some people I know probably do scratch their heads a bit because we don't bring bonds or levies, but the SBA has still been good to us. So they recognize that, even though some members in the past have kind of frowned on that. The SBA has been very good to us with that. So we're applying again and hopefully can be successful again. And they seem to put the interest of children a lot of times, what does the school system need? So I used to would think years ago that maybe it would hurt us, but it really hasn't hurt us on those kinds of things. Unless they change their philosophy, it really hasn't. But you do have to make a decision. In this day and age, they say we expect you to put something in. They don't tell you what that something is, and then we have to make a decision what we think we can do. And then they could certainly say, we'll give you money if you do this, and then we can decide if that's something we can live with or not. We're not to that point yet. Metro News today, I believe Travis forwarded to us, said 32 counties applied for needs funding, so 32 out of 55 or something like that. So 32 or 33, so we'll have some competition, but they've seemed pretty favorable, at least to us going through and knowing that we have some needs up here. So right, on one hand, you maybe would rather show a smaller fund balance for that purpose. The good news is we have a fund balance to have and to help us go forward with that. So any other questions?
I guess as a part of the decision about replacing bus engines or not, if it takes a year to get a bus and you need a bus,
Mhm.
you kind of have to replace the
Right,
engine.
right. I mean, that's part of it too. That is part of the discussion. You know, you can't just go out and buy a bus and have it here 2 or 3 days. You're exactly right. And maybe you could get a used bus somewhere, but even then you don't know what you're getting. So you're exactly right about that. I mean, if you need the bus, then that's also part of the discussion. And so there was a quote today that Chuck got, and then Christie handed over, and I thought it said 60,000, like 60,000, there's no way. It turns out it was 2 different quotes. If you add them together, it was 60, but they were still in the upper 20s to low 30s, which is about the last time we had to put an engine in. And again, it's an older bus, 7711, one of our large passenger buses. I don't know if it's the stub nose bus or not. Maybe.
No.
No.
No, okay. But
It
anyway.
isn't, but he was driving that one today, and all the kids loved it. They were super excited to have the old bus back.
At any rate, any other questions you have, feel free to let me know. I'll have some other schedules, like I say, at a future meeting.
Now, do we need to approve this, or this is just a report?
You can approve it. It's
Okay.
kind of both. Yes.
So you have my recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2025 year-end financials.
We have our superintendent's recommendation to approve these financials. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? All in favor of approving the fiscal year 2025 year-end financials, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you. 6B is the August, switching fiscal years now to FY26 Treasurer's Report. So again, the good news is here, we had ended July with 2.397. Again, kind of echoing our fund balance from June, and some deferred checks are being withheld. We had receipts, including over 300,000 for taxes of 981, 130.10. Disbursements of 630,000. So again, the full effect of payroll hasn't hit yet in August. The year-round payroll will be back up to 600,000 or 700,000 in September. It's 200,000 in August, because it's still just picking up some year-round people and summer school people. So we increased our fund balance from 2.397 to 2.748. Almost 350,000. Again, this is cash position. It does mirror somewhat what we just talked about, but one's a reconciled bank balance, one's our financial statement balance. So it's not always going to match exactly due to the timing of receivables and payables. But again, a good month for cash. Now at the end of September, we'll be up $3.5 million, or maybe up in the upper threes, because we just received a check for $1.2 million for taxes, and then state aid doesn't pick up until later in the fiscal year, so it'll be high and then it'll go down over time, as normally does based on that. And towards the bottom of the page, interest earned is still 4.43%. I guess we'll find out if the Federal Reserve does any reduction of rates, if that changes our interest rate, but still it's only changes like very little over the past number of months. Interest earned for the month, again, is almost 10,000, 97.81.62. So 2 months combined, almost 20,000, 19,689.23. Back when we had no money, that was like a full year's worth of interest, and maybe more than that, as far as that goes. The disbursement breakdown ties back to the bills that were approved, our gross payroll again. Some summer school is in there, and that will get larger as we go back into September and move online. So bottom line, current month ending fund balance, $2,748,261.25, and this is the cash position as of August 31st, 2025.
You have my recommendation to approve the treasury report for August 2025.
Our superintendent's recommending approving the treasurer's report. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the treasurer's report for August 31, 2025 with an ending balance of $2,748,261.25, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
There is nothing tonight for revisions. I kind of talked about financial update under the other 2 reports, so nothing for 6C or D for finance.
So that'll finish us up for the finance, and we move down.
Before we go to Travis, would it be all right to go back and ask a question about the people we okayed for drivers? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Lisa, do we still check their insurance? I mean, we haven't okayed drivers for a long time. They have to, okay.
Sent the applications to Christie and JP to review their insurance.
Okay, so they have to show
Yes.
what, it was high insurance, I thought, at one time.
We did, and Christy and Nicole can add if they want. We did receive them. They did have insurance cards.
Mhm.
It did trigger more of a discussion about, do we want to look at how much we require? It's kind of up to each individual county. I mean, you know,
Right.
but you have to decide what you're comfortable with and doing that. And so we need to come back and probably take a further look at more detail. But these folks did have the liability insurance. They did have insurance cards. That met the criteria, but we may come back at a future policy discussion and kind of take a little further
I
look.
can remember we had an amount at one time that people, sometimes people wouldn't do it because they couldn't meet that amount of liability.
Anything,
Yeah.
Christie? Good for you.
I haven't been involved with that side of it to increase what they have had in the past, and they have to have a higher amount. My thought process on that was, you know, our parents are giving up a lot to support their children in sports and events and things, and they pay for their gas, and they pay for their food, and they do all that. So we did pull in Jason Long to ask him, and I asked him what other counties were doing, and it is up to individual counties
Okay.
on what, you know, if we decide to go that route. But we are looking at it.
And our current policy does support this decision,
Mhm.
and what we've done, I would like to make it more specific of what we'd want for the insurance amount. And I'd also like to require that they give us a report from the DMV on their driving record.
Right.
So I think that would be just, and I also would like to have a copy of their driver's license, just to have those things on file.
Yeah.
So there's some things that we could improve there, I think, and just
Yeah, I
revise
knew
and
in the
add to it.
past we had done stuff like that. We really hadn't okayed people to drive for a long time.
The Board of Risk certainly has their best practices, which again tend to lean towards the more conservative side of that. And so I don't know that we can meet everything the Board of Risk recommends, but they would tend to be more conservative on, you should do this, you should do that. And it's been talked about for years, you know, looking at driving records, and we've never necessarily taken that step. But if we do want to certainly make sure that we are putting students in a safe environment, then we have to decide what our responsibility is to do that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. So now we're finished with finance, and we'll move to facilities.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I believe JP already touched on the needs grant some earlier in his presentation, but we did get that submitted this past Friday. It was due on the 12th, and so we submitted, working with Thrasher. What we hope is a very strong application for some needs that we have. Our metal roofing at the middle high school, which wasn't replaced the last time that we did some work up on the roof. We looked at that area, plus some of the roof at Brandywine and the HVAC and controls at Brandywine. So that's kind of what we have in the project, and we'll see. We'll have to do a presentation, and they'll probably come up and take a look at those things and see where we're at. We talked a little bit the last time about some AC issues. We did get Franklin Elementary back up and going last Tuesday, I believe it was. We had call it like an easy start to the compressor on one of the units at Franklin Elementary, and we had to order some parts, and Mason and Barry came up and put those back on, so that upstairs wing is back up and operational. We do have an issue out at the high school with some AC as well. They do have some AC running in there. It's not at full steam, and again, Mason and Barry's ordered some parts, and we're still waiting for those parts to get here so we can get that upstairs wing back up and going. Fortunately, the weather's cooperated with us for the most part. It hasn't been terribly hot, so we'll hopefully get that back up and going. And we had issues in this room too the last time we were here, and we had to put a new motor in. The fan motor went out here, so I think that's back up and going now too. It seems like it's cooled down, right, Sonny? It's cooled down up there. So, Other than that, I think that's. I was over at North Fork today. Talked to Lance a little bit. They were painting. Their metal is supposed to arrive in the next day or two for the outside wall, and as soon as it comes, they're going to start putting that back up. And they've got to put a piece of angle iron on the top of the block yet. They've got to do that, and then they can go back into tying their drop ceiling back into the wall over there. So they're making some progress. The painting looks good. The block looks good on the inside. They were painting the door. So making some progress with that project too. So any questions?
Any questions from anybody?
I would still like to see the Preservation Society put some big rocks or something up there to even stop a car from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that could very easily happen with a car.
Yeah, we came down through there with several parking blocks down past the building just a little ways. We did that for another purpose, but I guess with enough effort, you could still jump those and go in there again. If you,
I'm sure, you know,
if someone really hit the gas hard, it would jump those.
and I'll talk to Brendan and Orville, if they would talk to Greer, I'm sure Greer would donate those great big rocks.
Yeah,
You don't know
it wouldn't
whether-
hurt to set those every couple feet all the way down the length of that building. If you've got
Yeah.
some connections there.
I didn't realize till you and I were up there that morning how easy that could happen with an automobile.
Surprisingly, it hasn't in, 25 or
Yeah.
plus years it's been there, 28 years. Surprisingly, I don't know if it's happened, but it hasn't happened till then. So that, I think that's a great idea. If you've got some connections there.
I'll talk to David Harper and the people in Greer,
Yeah.
but I'll make sure it's okay with Preservation Society first, you know. But I'm sure that Greer would be more than glad to.
I think that's
They're good about helping.
Really good idea.
Any questions under facilities? Thank you. And that, no old business, so that brings us down to new business and attendance waivers.
You still there, Carrie?
I am. JP, you may have to repeat things because I can't hardly hear what's being said unless you all are right by the phone. So attendance waiver. I have one attendance waiver for approval this evening. It is AW 2526 number 10.
And you have my recommendation to approve this attendance waiver as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the attendance waiver as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Then all in favor of approving attendance waiver 2526 number 10, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes. West Virginia Balanced Scorecard. Thanks, Carrie.
We'll get you back in a second.
Do you mind to put up the
I'm
sign?
going to pull up the West Virginia Balanced Scorecard, which is a link. So if you ever come back to this board meeting, there is a link. It's not a file, but there is a link here. And that link pulls up Pendleton County directly there. So Nicole, you can tell me wherever you want me to go with this. So
Let's go ahead and scroll down. So
okay.
I did give the board members a copy of the report. The first page is just just data about the county. It's interesting that as of the difference from this year to last, the attendance is up by 4, and everything else is pretty much right on track. 93% was our attendance rate last year at this time, and it's 93.68% now. So we are holding strong, I feel like. There were some gains, specifically Brandywine in mathematics and attendance. And Franklin Elementary had, both Franklin Elementary and Norfolk Elementary from last year to this year had gains in attendance and behavior. So those are very good. Definitely some work to do at the middle high school. I do feel like from just having been there, it's more of making sure that we have buy-in by the students and that they are ready to be engaged. Unfortunately, those results I don't think truly reflect what they were capable of doing. So we need to make sure we counteract that. We did have a discussion today. Every Tuesday when we don't have a leadership meeting, we have Tuesday talks. We did talk about some data today, and Ms. Latif was working on her data, And we had had the conversation of what specifically they were gonna do to make sure that they had buy-in from the students. So, feel like we're holding strong. So definitely some gains and definitely some areas that we need to work on, but I think overall we're doing very well. I know that staff they are definitely devoted to our students and committed to helping them grow.
Any questions under this?
Yeah, Nicole, on the high school, the post-secondary achievement, does that mean, is that basing on kids that graduate and don't finish college, or?
What that has, it has a varied components to it, and I contacted the State Department several times last year and got no response. It's very baffling to us because it has to do with your, thank you, JP. End of the year enrollment, full academic, let's see, it's, so go to under the description, because it's your AP classes, your dual credit classes, plus your your VOTEC, your those classes, the,
Oops, hang on.
your concentrations. And we don't understand, I mean, we have so many students taking so many dual classes, we could not get an answer from anybody. And even Dr. Lambert has said that he's reached out and tried to get answers. So that will be something that we will definitely be looking at, because we feel like our students, we have several that do dual credits and
Yeah,
several.
we have a lot of kids graduate with several credits already when they're
Well,
ready to go to college.
and then here's
Yes.
here's an example up there, step 1, it talks about scoring a 3 or higher on AP exam. How many students, I guess, take AP exams, how many AP classes, I'm not sure what else either, but I mean, that's,
So all the markers
Gives
are
you
in
some.
your senior class, then is where the markers are
Yes.
that they go by, okay.
Right, and we have a lot of participation, so it is concerning and very frustrating, so we will definitely, I'm sure that Dr. Lambert is going to be quick to look at that and try to figure out, and I'll work with him to help figure out what we can do to improve that, because it has not changed any from last year, and that's just baffling. So,
Thank you.
well,
Any additional questions? And I think that finishes us up under the West Virginia Balanced Scorecard and new business, and we move down to other. And first thing we have is first month attendance report.
All right, so for the first month, we have Brandywine Elementary School's first grade at 98.67% attendance. Our overall best school was North Fork Elementary at 95.84, but everyone was pretty close for the first month. For our best county grade level, that was third grade at 96.77, and then overall our county average was 94.8 for the first month. Our numbers are a little bit lower than they were this time last year, but not by much. And just for chronic absenteeism, there's another document there. I'm assuming JP is going to pull it up. This is looking at, we are already past day 20 somehow. And so I pull chronic absences in every school day that ends in zeros at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so forth. So for day 20, that's kind of our first real big measure. You can see there Brandywine Elementary's chronic absenteeism rate was 10.83, Franklin at 14.52, North Fork at 7.14, the middle high school at 15.78, and overall county average at 13.69. I'm have the comparison there to where we were at our balanced scorecard. I do really want to thank Nicole for pointing out attendance, and particularly point out Brandywine and Franklin, because we met standard for attendance at Brandywine and Franklin Elementary this year, and that's the first time that we've done that since I've been in this position, at least, and since I've been looking at the balanced scorecard. And even though North Fork and the middle high school didn't meet the standard, they showed a ton of improvement. I'm really proud of all of the work that they've been doing with their attendance. So our chronic absence rates are slightly higher right now than they were day 20 last year. But whenever we think about this, chronic absence means that if they've missed 2 days by this time, then they're chronically absent. So we spent a lot of time here at the start of the year tracking down students who had moved to other counties or other states. And we've had several students move and transition into virtual charter schools. And so that has affected our attendance some here at the beginning of the school year because they've enrolled in a virtual charter, but they hadn't actually been picked up in the system by the virtual charter yet. So there's just a little lag time there that affected the attendance. But by the end of the year, those won't be, they may not be in our system at all, but even if they come back, that shouldn't affect the chronic absence rate. Do you all have any questions for me?
Any questions? Thanks for the explanation on the chronic absenteeism again.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you, Gary.
Any questions? We'll say that we're good on the attendance report then. Thanks, Gary. And move to goal improvement, student achievement.
Just two things from me, and then Nicole, you can fill in anything you want. I just wanted to say that we did get after a lot of uncertainty about federal programs and what funding we would have, we did get that process approved last week from the State Department. So we have a little bit of revisions to do with some carryover funds and different things like that, but that's kind of step one, is to get that approved. And Barb and I are working on another application within the grants system there with Science of Reading, and we are about ready to submit that one as well for a little bit of additional funding that helps with some of the benchmarking that we are required to do from the state. So we're about ready to submit that probably in the next day or two as well.
And also, our schools are currently in the process of taking the general summative assessment practice test. We're in between a large span between two benchmarks. So we felt like this would be an excellent time. And it is proving to be very beneficial already. We're seeing, like I said, that we had our Tuesday talk today, and Mr. Lambert shared that at Brandywine, they had their first benchmark, which they were very pleased with the benchmarking, which is, your first benchmark, you never know. But already what they're seeing from the results from the general summative practice, they're seeing that there is definitely room, because that was benchmark on where they're at, and we're testing on a 6th grade level, or a grade up. So your 5th graders are now in 6th grade, and so that was what he was sharing specifically, was that grade. And it was just very telling, because he had 2 that were proficient rather than all proficient, and so it really gave him the vision of, we have work to do, and that was very, very good. So I think it's a very good practice. It was rocky at the beginning of the school year, jumping into something new, and also when you give the general summative practice, you still have to do all the training and have everything in place, just as if you're giving the general summative. And so Emmy's done an outstanding job of helping the principals be ready to help their staff be trained, and all of that's been put in place. I do feel like it will bear a lot of fruit, because once we do this as a practice, it helps us to see what areas we need to be ready for when we come to the spring. And it also helps students, especially like our 3rd grade students, have an idea of what the testing platforms are like and what they can expect. So I'm hoping that it helps the teachers be a little bit more comfortable with the testing site, and maybe use it more as a tool in their classroom. So that's one thing. And then our principals have all submitted their academic growth plans that will include, this is part of the the county academic growth plan, and we will be meeting soon and looking at data very closely and trying to see, especially bubble students, those that are just on the verge of not quite, and what can we do? Sometimes it's one or two questions, one or two standards that we just need to review. So really looking closely at students and how they're doing, so.
Any questions under school improvement, student achievement? Thank you all. Superintendent's update.
Okay, we had the opportunity Monday to have a lunch for our service personnel, because this week we will be the state is recognizing service personnel, so we had the opportunity to do that Monday, and that was a lot of fun, and we just really wanted to point out that we really do appreciate our service personnel. We couldn't manage at all, so I was glad that we had that opportunity. We at the board office are going to be collecting for CAN, because they are especially low, and understandably. So we are doing that ourselves. So we have a CAN collection going on just between us. And do want you to have peace of mind that we do have things in place for Treasure Mountain Festival and our early release. So it does take some extra planning. It is a very good idea to have the school day end early that day. So we have law enforcement in place, and Travis and Christy and I are ready to go, and we'll be in the places we need to be to make sure the buses get moving and get out of town quickly. So looking forward to that.
Okay. Any questions for our superintendent? Conference and meeting update.
So Sunny and I have the epic meeting on Thursday, and then Christy and I will be going next Thursday and Friday to the administration association for the superintendents, and that looks like it's a very good agenda for professional development, so we're looking forward to that.
Nicole, you were also down in Charleston the other day, correct?
Yes, I was, yes, we did go. Christy and I did tell her, I do believe that we are going to have a lot of fun adventures. We did learn a lot about parking in Charleston, and she got us talked out of a ticket, and I have documentation of that. But we were told we could park there, but learning the Capitol, so that was, it's a beautiful building. I was taking pictures of the ceiling and the lights, but it was great. We also met Senator Azinger. We got our posters, got to hear Governor Morrissey speak, and so that was all great opportunity. And so yes. Yeah, we got to also just touch base with our state superintendent, Michelle Black. She was there and she sat with us, and so that was a great opportunity as well.
Good.
So looking forward to, so.
She seems very capable.
Yes, very much so. So
Any questions about conference and meetings update? Then our next meeting will be here on October this, I'm sorry, to get Brandywine.
already.
Brandywine
I'll
on
have to travel
October the
far.
7th.
Right
And it'll
there.
be at 6 o'clock, but before it, there will be an LSIC presentation. And I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.